Hello, everyone. I'm Trish Connor Cato. Welcome to Microsoft Power Automate. This video is for users who are looking to gain skills in using efficiency features to automate day-to-day work tasks and activities. Users can be beginning level or those who have some experience but want to gain more. Power Automate uses workflow processes to free up your time from performing manual tasks. We start with an overview of workflow concepts and then move on to accessing Power Automate from SharePoint, OneDrive, and Office 365. Then we jump into reviewing the Power Automate interface and learning how to navigate within it. We'll create a Power Automate flow using both a template and from scratch. We'll learn and use triggers, conditions, and actions to perfect our flows before activating and testing a flow. We'll move on to integrating Power Automate with Microsoft Forms, Planner, Power Apps, and Teams. Lastly, we will monitor flow statistics and metrics. If you're enjoying these videos, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions you want answered by one of our instructors, please join our off-site community. The link is in the description as well. As always, if this course has exercise files, you'll find them in the video description below. Our first lesson before we get hands-on is an overview of workflow concepts. So as you'll see on the slide on my screen, a workflow is a sequence of tasks or activities based on user-defined rules or conditions to execute a business process. Now, those tasks can be sequential or parallel or a combination of both in a workflow. So Microsoft Power Automate was formerly called Microsoft Flow, lets you automate those manual tasks using its no-code/low-code platform. So virtually, you can get automation without having to have any coding experience, which is awesome. It's also used across a variety of industries. So whether you work in a state agency, or you're in healthcare, or you're in environmental services or banking, it's used by regular users as well as IT professionals. Power Automate has the ability to create 3 types of workflows. And by the way, they're known as flows. Within the application, they're referred to as flows. So 3 different types of flows. This course really focuses on cloud flows, so I'm going to skip that for a moment and come back to it. In addition to cloud flows, there are desktop flows and business process flows. The desktop flows are used to automate tasks on the web or the desktop of your computer. Business process flows provide a streamlined user experience. So what a business process flow does is it leads people through the processes their organization has defined for interactions that need to be advanced to a conclusion of some kind. So it's a user experience that can be tailored so that people with different security roles can have an experience that best suits the work they do. Our focus again is on cloud flows. So they are used when you want your automation to be triggered or started automatically, instantly via like a button click, for example, or you can have them scheduled for the flows to actually work. Since our focus in this course is on cloud flows, let's take a deeper dive into the ways they can be started. So there are automated flows, and that means you create an automation that's triggered by an event. So an event can be the arrival of an email from a specific person, or a mention of your company in social media, or a new file being placed in OneDrive or a SharePoint library. Those are events that can start the flow to happen. Your instant flows can be started with a click of a button. You can automate for repetitive tasks from your computer or mobile devices. For example, if you have your phone, you can instantly send a reminder to your team with a push of a button. And then you have scheduled flows. They will schedule an automation such as a daily data upload to SharePoint or a database. So, or maybe there's something that you want to run weekly. You can schedule a flow to run at your convenience when you need it to run. So, since we'll be focusing on cloud flows in this course, you'll see instances of automated flows, instant flows, and how to set up a scheduled flow. In our second lesson, we'll be hands-on accessing Power Automate. We're going to access Power Automate 3 different ways here. We're going to access it from SharePoint, from OneDrive, and from Office 365. Before we get started on this lesson, there are some files in the video description that you're going to want to retrieve so you can follow along. So in the video description, there are 3 Excel files and 1 Word document. The Excel file named Remodel Project Plan SP, you're going to want to place that in a SharePoint document library. Remodel Project Plan OD, it's the same file, just a different name. You're going to want to place that Excel file in a OneDrive folder. The Power Automate project demo, you can put that Excel file on your desktop for later access. And the attachments Word document, you're going to also put on your desktop for later access. Feel free to pause the video until you get those files where they need to be, and then you can resume. If you do not have access to SharePoint or OneDrive, feel free to just watch and you can take it in as a demo. We're going to get started in SharePoint. So I've navigated to my SharePoint document library where I placed that Remodel Project Plan SP file. If you need to, pause the video and navigate to your SharePoint site, and then you can resume. Power Automate is accessed from the taskbar in SharePoint. Now, my taskbar is kind of collapsed, so I have the More button where the blue circle is, and I'm going to click on that More button, and then I will see Automate. And when I hover over Automate, I can hover over Power Automate and see that it gives me the option to create a flow, see your flows, or configure flows. Now, that's without having a document in the library selected. I'm going to click away from that, and then I'm going to select this Remodel Project Plan document by putting a checkbox in the circle in front of it. And I'm going to go back to my More button to expand it. And now when I hover over Automate, the first thing I see is Request Sign Off. So if I have a document that I put in the library and I need it to be signed off on, I can request that sign off from the Automate menu. And I also, if I hover over Power Automate, have the typical 3 choices in SharePoint: create, see, and configure flows. Let's click on Configure Flows to start. And so this is for this library, right? And it's saying, do you want approvals in this library? So that means any documents that are uploaded or created in the library would need to be approved if that switch is set to on, which is the default. And then if you upload a document to a library that requires approval, the only people that can see that document in the library is the person that uploaded it and the people who are approvers. It doesn't show universally for everybody else until it's approved. So all new documents uploaded or created in the library would require approval by default. We're going to cancel out of Configure Flow options. I'm going to go back to my More button and hover over Automate and click on Power Automate again to see the other options. If you already have flows in Power Automate, you can see your flows. If you click that, kind of routes you over to Power Automate, and you'll see any flows that you have there. Since it opened Power Automate in a new tab, I'm going to just navigate back to my SharePoint site so I can get back to where we were. And I'm going to go back to my options, Automate, Power Automate. And if you wanted to create a flow from here, you would click on Create a Flow. Let's do that. So it loads templates here for you, right? You can send a customized email when a new file is added. And if you look at the icons in front of the templates, it's telling you the applications, the connections in Power Automate language, connections that will be used. So the first one is showing SharePoint icon with the Office 365 icon. This one is showing SharePoint and Teams. This one is showing Outlook. So this one is save my email attachments to a SharePoint document library. And you have a show more icon where you can see more templates that you could potentially use from SharePoint. If you scroll to the bottom of that, you can also keep seeing more templates. You can show less, or you can get back to see your flows from here. And you can also get some documentation on learning more about Power Automate. For this file, we're going to use the Add an Outlook task for a selected file flow. So go ahead and select that in the list. It will open on a new tab in Power Automate. I just zoomed in my screen. I want to protect my privacy. So at the bottom of your screen, you have two connectors, I believe SharePoint and Outlook tasks. You're going to want to make sure that they each have a green check mark. That means you're connected to them. So if they don't have a green check mark, you probably just need to click on them. It may ask you to sign in. And once you do that, you'll get your green check marks. Once you have both green check marks, you can go ahead and click the Create Flow button at the bottom of the screen. Now that we've created the flow, we're not going to actually get it started in here. We're going to get it started in SharePoint, and you'll see that in just a moment. We're going to just switch back over to our SharePoint tab now, Internet tab. So go ahead and do that. And on SharePoint, we're going to reselect the document, and we're going to go back to More or Automate. Access Automate, and now you'll see on the list underneath Request Sign Off, the flow that we created from the SharePoint library is showing on the list. So now we can select the flow from the list, add an Outlook task for a selected file, and it opens a panel on the right side of the screen, and it lets you know that it uses the following apps: SharePoint and Outlook tasks. At the bottom, you're going to go ahead and click on Continue. You can enter in a subject for this task. So I'm going to put in Review this file. And for importance, I'm going to put Normal. And now on the bottom left, I'm going to click on Run Flow. So it tells me it started the flow and the flow is done. I'm going to just click away from that. So now I want to take a look at my Outlook task list to see that the task is there and the flow ran successfully. And there you have the review this file task. I have it in my Outlook task list. And I can mark it complete if I want, or handle it like any other task in the task list. So you have a successful flow. I switch back over to the Power Automate window where you see the flow. And what I wanted to show you here is the 28-day run history toward the bottom of the screen. So now that we ran the flow, we'll see that it succeeded. It gives you the date and the time when it was run. We ran it from within SharePoint, and you can see that it succeeded. One more thing I should mention about SharePoint and Power Automate is Power Automate is going to be replacing all of the workflows in SharePoint at some point. It's already replaced some of them, and it's going to replace the rest of them. I've switched over to my OneDrive folder that contains the Remodel Project Plan OD Excel file. Before we actually select the file, I'd like to show you the options that are up here on the taskbar under Automate, what's presented to you when you do not have a file selected. So when I click on Automate and hover over Power Automate, I can create a flow or, just like in SharePoint, see my flows that I've already created. It doesn't have an option here in OneDrive to configure your flow because that is specifically for the SharePoint application. I'm going to go over and select the Remodel Project Plan OD file. And now I'm going to go to my More Options ellipsis, hover over Automate, and I get two other choices. One of them we saw in SharePoint, and that would be request sign-off, but you can also copy a file as a PDF in OneDrive for business. Now again, if you hover over Power Automate, you'll see that you're able to create a flow and see your flows. We're going to copy a file as a PDF. That is a very practical application of this, especially in OneDrive. Sometimes we need to share a file with someone in a PDF format, and all the steps we would take to open the file, save it as a PDF, and then share it, we can use this flow on it instead. So the Create a Flow panel opens on the right side. It's an instant cloud flow. You may have to sign in for one of the connections here. I'm already signed in, so I have green check marks for OneDrive for Business, Office 365 Outlook, and Office 365 users. And I'm going to click on the Next button at the bottom. Once it's done creating the flow, it gives you the ability to run the flow right now with that file that is selected. And it's going to put the PDF copy in the same folder. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Run Flow. It tells me my flow ran successfully, and I'm going to just click Done on this. Once I refresh my OneDrive screen, I pressed F5 to do that, you can see that the PDF was created off of that document that had been selected. It's a real good practical application of Power Automate because that is a very typical thing that happens when you need to convert something to a PDF and it's already in your OneDrive. If I select the Excel file again and make my way back to More Options, Automate, I'll see that that flow is there. Copy file as a PDF in OneDrive Business. So in this folder, in my OneDrive account, I could be on any file and have the ability to convert it to a PDF. Now click away from that and deselect the file. Another way to get into Microsoft Power Automate is by using the app launcher. I like to call it the waffle. It's located in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. It's that series of 9 dots. Go ahead and click the app launcher. If you don't see Power Automate in the list, you can go to the All Apps link in the bottom left in order to be able to see more apps. If you do see the link or when you find it, go ahead and hover over Power Automate. And I like to open the context menu, the vertical ellipsis on the right side of it, so I can have it launch the application in a separate tab. So it doesn't take over. I'll still have my OneDrive tab open, and then I'll have another tab for Power Automate. Go ahead and click on Open in New Tab. Pardon my privacy cover-up in the upper right-hand corner. So this is Power Automate. When you go in, it brings you to the home screen, as you can see from the menu on the left. And that menu on the left, if you want to collapse it, you can use these 3 lines so you get more working space if you need it. And I'm going to just click the 3 lines to expand it again. So we're on the Home tab, and on the Home tab gives you the ability to watch a quick video. You can search for a template by the app name, a task, or industry. It gives you a few templates right here. And if you scroll down, you can see that you can search all templates. You can start from a template, and they've been categorized. So you have your top picks, remote work, email, so on and so forth. There's a link underneath where you can view all the templates. If you continue to scroll down, you'll see popular services. And the services, connectors, they're referred to as a lot of different things, right? But your popular services would be your apps that you can connect to. Notice there's over 572 services that can be used with Power Automate, and not all of them are Microsoft. If you can continue down, you'll see some more learning opportunities here, and they have different categories as well. So you can become comfortable with this environment. Now, on the left side, in that menu, click on Action Items, and you'll see if you had anything waiting for your approval. If you click on Approvals, you would see that you've received approvals, sent them in a history. If you had anything that you were expected to approve, it would show up in your approvals here. Going to expand action items in the menu again, and you also have business process flows. If you had any of those, you would see the active versus the inactive ones. Some of them might require your attention. Now, again, this course is focused on cloud flows. We're not going to really do any business process flows during this course. I'm going to just collapse action items. I could go to My Flows. If I click on My Flows, it shows me the flows that I have. So we did add an Outlook task for a selected file from SharePoint and copy file as a PDF in OneDrive in our OneDrive. So we have those showing as part of our flows that we've already created. And up top, these are all cloud flows. If you had desktop flows, they would show there. Business process flows. And flows that are shared with you, you would be able to find very easily. So you can create a flow, share it with other people. Same can be done with them sharing flows with you. We have the Create option on the menu over there. So this is where I usually start when I'm working in Power Automate. I go directly to Create, and I can start from blank. I can also start from a template here. We talked about the 3 different types of cloud flows. So if I want an automated one, an instant one, or a scheduled one, I can get them from here or start them from here from blanks, as well as desktop and business process flows. If I want to start from a template, I have the same categories as we had on the home screen and the ability to search for templates. And I can start from connectors. Now, some apps are also connectors, right? So these would be your Office 365 Outlook, Outlook.com, also apps. So that's all from Create in the menu. You can go directly to templates and you can search up here. So you have the ability again to search. It takes a moment to load. And when it does, you're seeing templates for all flows featured, the ones that were shared with you. If templates were shared with you, they have all of these different categories. And you'll notice to the right of the categories, there's an ellipsis button. So you can expand it and scroll through to see all of the categories. I just clicked on the ellipsis to collapse that again. The next one is connectors. And it has them by your popular connectors, recently added connectors. These are not ones that you recently added, but that were recently added to Power Apps. Some of them are premium, meaning that they may have a charge associated with them. Going back to the menu, you have data over there. So if you've been working in Power Automate, I just clicked on tables. And it takes me to Power Apps, which we're not going to talk about right now, but there is a link between Power Apps and Power Automate. So I'm going to just get myself out of there. But you can see on the menu that I went into tables. There's connections, custom connectors, gateways. We're not going to really get into those in this course. You have a monitor category, which I'm going to expand, where you can come in and monitor your cloud flow activity. If you have any desktop flows, you can look at their runs. Any machines, you can look at that information. You have AI Builder, Artificial Intelligence Builder, and we're not going to be touching that in this class. You have a Process Advisor on the menu where you can create processes. And you have Solutions, Learn. Learn is very good. Microsoft has done really good documentation. There's even videos about Power Automate, virtually any of their cloud-based apps that are really good that are out there for you. So just wanted you to get your feet wet looking at what you have on your menu. And we're going to go ahead and click on Create on the menu. That'll be our starting point. But before we start creating a flow we're going to start by creating one using a template, and then we'll build one from scratch. There are a couple of different terms that you need to get comfortable with. So before we build our flow, let's break down these three terms. Triggers, those would be events that start a cloud flow. So for example, someone uploads a document to a SharePoint library. That could be a trigger that would start a cloud flow. You have conditions, which in a lot of flows can be optional. So if someone uploads a file to a SharePoint library, depending on who that someone is, we may need an approval on that file. That would be a condition. You have choices when you use a condition, right? You can put in a condition and tell it what to do if the condition is met and what to do if the condition is not met. So let's say, I'll just use Mickey Mouse here. Mickey Mouse uploads a file to a SharePoint document library. And Mickey Mouse is relatively new to the company, so his manager wants to make sure that he reviews whatever Mickey submits to the library. So the condition could be if it was uploaded by Mickey Mouse, then route it to his manager. If not, if it wasn't uploaded by Mickey Mouse or uploaded by anyone else, take no action or do a different action. So that's where the actions come in. That's a task or a series of tasks that start when a trigger is invoked. Triggers, conditions, and actions. Three terms that are kind of nice to know in the background when you're building Power Automate flows. Before we build a flow using a template, go back to your OneDrive folder and create another folder and name it Email Attachments. We're going to need to access that folder in the upcoming exercise. Once you've created the folder, go ahead and switch back over to your Power Automate Create screen. In Power Automate, we're going to scroll down until we can see the Start from a Template section. And we're going to use the filtering here and click on emails, just so we're seeing templates related to emails. We want a template that's going to take email attachments from Outlook and save them in the email attachments folder that you just created in the OneDrive account. So there's several different ones. We're looking for the one that says Save Office 365 email attachment to specified OneDrive for Business folder. And once you find that template, go ahead and click on it. So it confirms on the top the name of the template that you selected. It shows you, including the icons, the applications that are involved, and it tells you what the template does. So now it says it's going to save email attachments from a specified client or person to a designated folder in OneDrive for Business. So I can do 2 for 1 here. I can show you how to modify a template. We want it to save all attachments from everybody to that OneDrive folder. So you'll learn how to modify a template as well as we go through this. At the bottom, it again lets you know what it will be connecting to, OneDrive and Outlook. It has your login information. We've already been on OneDrive and we've already used Outlook tasks, so you should have 2 green check marks. If you do not, you can log into the one that you need a check mark for. And then go ahead and click on Continue. So because we used a template, it built steps for us that we have to address the steps. So let's start with the first step. It's in the box called On New Email. So it just says, oops, I collapsed it by clicking on it. It just says the folder, the email folder that we want it to look in is set by default to the inbox folder. And I'm going to leave that default. We don't need to use raw inputs here. We're going to expand Show Advanced Options. Because of the type of template we selected, email attachments, it already has only with attachments set to yes. So it's only going to retrieve emails that have attachments, and that's already set to yes. Now you have all these other standard email fields, to CC, to or CC from, so on and so forth. Typically, if I want to use conditions, I'm not going to use them in this box. I would use the condition boxes. We're not going to use conditions, but I'd show you how to set them up. In the On New Email box, go ahead and hide your advanced options so we get more working space. The next step is the condition. So we're going to expand the condition using the link in its lower right-hand corner. And this is where we could say, only do this on emails coming from, for example, Mickey Mouse, right? So if we were to do that, which we're not, if the email with the attachment is coming from Mickey Mouse, it would do whatever is in the if yes box. If it's not coming from Mickey Mouse, it would do whatever we tell it to do in the if no box. So let's take a look at the if yes box and make believe we're making it from Mickey Mouse. So it says, apply to each attachment from specific user, being Mickey Mouse. So it's going to select an output from previous step. It's going to retrieve the emails that have attachments. And when the condition is satisfied, it's going to create a file. The condition being satisfied would mean that the email is from Mickey Mouse and it has attachments. So then you would take it to the path in your OneDrive where that email attachments folder is. You would have to fill in the folder path. It automatically filled in the file name and file content boxes. So the file name would be whatever the name of the attachment is, and the file content would be whatever the contents of the attached file are. And then the if no box is very similar, but it says apply to each attachment. So every attachment, if it's not from Mickey Mouse, right? And it's going to do the same thing. You would just have to tell it the folder path, and it has the file name as the attachment name and the content as the attachment's content. Well, we want this template to apply to all emails, so we don't need the condition. I'm going to go up to the condition title bar, and over to the right, I'm going to click on the menu for condition vertical ellipses. And I'm going to choose delete. And it's going to verify the deletion of the step. So I'm going to click OK to verify that. So now we're left with just when I receive an email in my inbox, right, that has an attachment, we're left with a trigger, but we don't have any action. So we're going to click on the new step button. And when the choose an operation box opens, in the search connectors and actions box, we're going to type OneDrive, and it's all one word. So it brings up everything that's associated with OneDrive and OneDrive for Business. Well, we're using OneDrive for Business, so I'm going to click on that. And now it gives me all the actions that I could use for OneDrive for Business. Well, when I receive an email in my inbox that has an attachment, and the email can be from anyone, I want it to create a file. So I'm going to click on Create File. And so we saw this in the yes and no conditions, but we just got rid of the conditions. So the folder path, I'm going to click on the little file folder to the right. And then I'm going to hover over the arrow for root and select it. And now I'm going to navigate to my training documents, OneDrive for Business folder. And that's where I put my email attachments folder. And I'm going to just click directly on my email attachments. So I'm telling it when I receive a new email with an attachment from anyone, create a file in this particular folder. Now I have to tell it what the name of the file is going to be. So as soon as we access the folder, this dynamic content pane opened up on the right. And if you look through it, it has standard email fields. Go ahead and click in the file name box and then scroll downwards in your dynamic content pane. And you'll see dynamic content. Dynamic means it's able to do more than just like a regular field, right? It can tell what the name of the attachment is and extract that for the file name. So we're going to click attachment's name for the file name. And it collapses create file when we do that. So I'm going to just click on create file again. And I'm going to click in file content, scroll my dynamic content. And this time you'll notice at the very top, and it's one attachments content, and that's what we want it to do. So we're going to select that one. So when we receive a new email from anyone that has an attachment, for each email, it's going to grab the attachment. It's going to put it in the My Email Attachments folder on OneDrive. It's going to name the file whatever the name of the attachment is, and the contents will be whatever the contents of the attachment is. So that's what we want to happen with this flow. If we scroll down to the bottom, we're going to go ahead and click Save. Once you save your flow, you'll notice the green band at the top of your screen letting you know that it's ready to go, and they recommend that you test it. Now, let's say there was an error. We made a mistake in a step. The band would not be green, it would be a light red, and you would have a red dot on top of the flow checker in the upper right-hand corner. And you could use the flow checker if you had an error to try to figure out and fix whatever error you have in your flow. Since we don't have any errors, we just want to get rid of the green band. So we're going to click the X in its upper right-hand corner. And since it recommends that we test our flow, the last button up there is test, and I'm going to go ahead and click it. So I try to manually test my flows first. So it defaults to manually, and it's saying send a new email in your inbox to trigger it. So down at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and click the test button. And then you'll have this band at the top. To see it work now, send a new email in your inbox. So go ahead and pause the video and send yourself an email using that attachment Word document that you placed on your desktop earlier from the video description. So send the email to yourself and attach that file. When I come back into my flow screen after I sent myself the email with the attachment, it lets me know that my flow ran successfully. I'm going to go ahead and close that green band. And I'm going to do the back button to go back to the previous page. And at the top now, it says your flow is ready to go. It's turned on and will run when it's triggered. So we tested it. So if we receive any other emails with attachments, they're going to be sent to that OneDrive folder. I'm going to get rid of that green band as well. And what I want you to pay attention to, this is the flow details page, right? So on the right, it's showing you as the owner, the connections, the details is the name of the flow, the description, the status, all types of information. And then you have your 28-day run history, right? So I actually ran it twice, but it succeeded both times. And the other way you can check to see if it worked is navigate to OneDrive to that email attachments folder. In my OneDrive email attachments folder, I see the attachment. It is named attachment, which is the name of the file that we attached to it. So the flow worked. Now, if you're receiving emails with attachments in the meantime, I'm going to go back over to Power Automate and show you how to disable that flow. And you can enable it again at a later date if you want to. So back on your flow details screen, you can go to More Actions and turn off the flow. And so now it's going to tell you there's a potential problem with this flow, and you can go to the flow checker, right? And it just lets you know that it's off. You can close that flow checker panel on the right, get rid of the warning sign. And then that way, if you need to go and enable it again, you can go back to More Actions and turn it back on. So sometimes it is necessary to disable a flow and then enable it again when you need it. I'm back on my Power Automate Create screen, and before we start from blank to create an automated cloud flow, I'd like you to download the Power Automate app onto your mobile device. Now, if you're downloading it on a non-Apple device, I can say for certainty that after you download it, it will be known as Flow. But when you're looking for it in the App Store, you want to look for Power Automate. So after you get it downloaded, get yourself logged into it. And this will be a useful tool for you if you're on the go, if you're on the road, away from the office, away from your computer, and you need to monitor some things. So go ahead and pause the video and get the app downloaded and get yourself logged into it. Now that you have the app, we're going to create an automated cloud flow from scratch that is going to monitor a specific SharePoint library. And if there are any items that are modified or added to that library, it will push a notification to you on your mobile device with a link to the item so you can actually access it easily from the notification. So let's go ahead and click on Automated Cloud Flow. And on the subsequent screen, it gives you information about it, right? It's just freeing yourself from repetitive work. And it gives you some examples. We need to name our flow. If we don't name our flow, it's not a required field. Power Automate will generate a name. And so I'm going to name it capital SP for SharePoint. And then notification. And then it wants you to choose your flow's trigger, which is required as indicated by the red asterisk. If you need information about this step, you can hover over the information icon and it lets you know that a trigger is an event that starts your flow. So instead of searching through all of this list of triggers for different apps, I'm going to click in the search all triggers and I'm going to type SharePoint. And now it's showing me, it's limiting the list, filtering, if you will, to just SharePoint triggers. Now, the trigger that we wanted was already on that initial list, but it's good to know that you can filter it so you're not looking through an endless list trying to locate what you need. So the one that we want is when an item or file is modified. We're going to select that one and click on the Create button at the bottom. So just like when we used it from a template, it brings us to the steps screen, and in the upper corner, it gives us the name of the flow, and we can use the back button to go back to the previous page if necessary. So we have our SharePoint when an item or a file is modified here. And what you're going to do is you need to give it the site address for your SharePoint site. Now, all of my SharePoint sites show from the drop-down. So for privacy purposes, I'm going to select the site that I'm using, the one where I stored that Excel file, and I'm going to just block it out. Now I'm accessing the list or library name drop-down, and I'm going to select the library that I want to use. And then you have an option. Notice that the site address and the list or library name are required fields, but the folder isn't. It says select a folder or leave blank for the whole library. So I want this to apply to documents in the entire library. If any item in that entire library, my training documents library, is modified, then I would like a notification about it. There are some advanced options that you can look. You can limit the columns by view, and we don't need to do that. So I'm going to hide the advanced items. So now when a file or an item is modified in that directory, what do I want to happen? I want a push notification to happen. So go ahead and click on New Step. And I can get rid of this cover up here for right now. And it tells you to choose an operation here. For the operation, we're going to use search connectors and actions, and we're going to search for notification. And you'll notice that the notifications app comes up, and we're going to click on it. So you get two choices here. You can get a mobile or an email notification. We're going to select send me a mobile notification. So now you get text, create a notification message. You can click in there. You can use dynamic content. So if we want to know if a file was modified, right? Look through your dynamic content, right? And we can look at all the things that are in there and see if there's one that we want to use other than putting in, typing in something. So I'm scrolling down until I see name, the file name of the item. That would be good to have in the notification. And then after I put the name in, I'm going to type the text has been modified, and an exclamation point. And then I'm going to click in the link box, and it says include a link in the notification. So we want to put in a link to the actual file. Using dynamic content, I'm going to scroll down until I find something called link to item. So if you hover over it, link that can be used to get to the file or list item. Only people with permissions to the item will be able to open the link. So go ahead and click link to item. And then the display name for the link, I'm going to use dynamic content for that as well. And I'm going to scroll down again until I find name. So the name of the item will be the name on the link label. And I'm going to just click away from dynamic content. So 2 steps here. When an item or a file is modified in that particular SharePoint directory, in my case, it's a document library, and this notification would apply to all items in the library because I didn't put in a specific folder, it's going to send me a mobile notification. Go ahead and save your flow. So again, we get the green band, it's ready to go. We recommend you test it. We're going to do a close on it. And right above the close button, we're going to click test. And we're going to leave it on manually. You have to actually click on it again and then click on test. So it lets you know right here in the information bar to see it work now, modify a list item in the SharePoint folder you selected. So go to your SharePoint, modify an item in that folder, and you should get a push notification on your mobile device. So I did get the push notification on my mobile device, and I was able to open the file from the link, which had the same name as the file. On this screen, I can get rid of the Your Flow ran successfully banner. And I'm going to do the back button to go back to the previous page, where it lets me know, of course. I'm going to tell it, don't show me this again on this, your flow is ready to go, and get rid of it. And I can see that it succeeded. My flow succeeded. So I opened that Excel file in Excel Online, made a change, and that was all it needed to do to trigger that push notification to my mobile device. Before reviewing what was covered in this course, I'd like to say I hope you've seen enough of Power Automate to whet your appetite. Please go in, explore its features on your own, and find uses that are more specific to your particular workflow needs. This course started with an overview of workflow concepts and how Power Automate lets you automate repetitive tasks without having to write code. We moved on to reviewing the types of flows, cloud, desktop, which is still in preview mode, and business process. We learned that cloud flows can be automated, instant, or scheduled. We got hands-on by creating a flow from within a SharePoint list and another from within a OneDrive folder. We moved on to accessing the Power Automate interface from the Office 365 apps icon, and learned the terminologies of triggers, conditions, and actions before creating a flow from scratch that connected to a SharePoint list. We used the OneDrive connector, and we used it to save email attachments from Outlook to a OneDrive folder. Thank you for viewing this video.